And today is a cool chance where we're going to have some presentations in Spanish and we'll have translation in English as well. So no sweat if Spanish is not your strong suit or if English is not your strong suit. Vamos a tener traducción hoy, entonces creo que tenemos una conversación más íntima hoy, con un grupo más pequeño. Entonces estoy emocionado, pero normalmente empezamos con breakout rooms. Normally we start with breakout rooms just to get to know each other a little bit before the presentations. Um, but yeah, I'm very grateful to welcome Renata and Romina and Rodrigo here from Un Árbol y Acción Serrana. They're doing some really beautiful work, and I'm excited to hear more about it. And I'm sure you all have a chance to ask all sorts of questions. Um, but let's just start with, I think, two breakout rooms, maybe three people are coming in. And the question is really just, how's your year wrapping up? And what brought you specifically to this conversation? What attracted you here? La pregunta para los grupos es, ¿cómo está tu fin de año? ¿Y por qué estás aquí? ¿Qué te lleva a esta conversación? Um, y vamos a tener 10 o 12 minutos en grupos. We'll have about 10 or 12 minutes in groups. So let me just get these started. Welcome back. Bienvenidos. Trae unas personas más. Ok, super. Bueno, pues Renata o Romina, ¿alguien de ustedes prefieren empezar?
Voy
Um,
a comenzar yo y Renata va a ser mi traductora,
Ok.
yeah.
¿sí?
Um,
Bien.
Also, I have the presentation to share. So, I will do that now.
I believe you should be able to share. Yep.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Cool. So this is not the other one. Okay. Yeah. Can you see it?
Se
Loading.
está cargando.
Sí.
Perfect. Ah, no traduje este título.
No pasa nada, sí.
Okay.
Bueno, vamos a comenzar. Mi nombre es Romina, vivo en Argentina, en, en la provincia de Córdoba, que es el centro de Argentina, y aquí trabajamos con nuestro proyecto que se llama Acción Serrana, que lo que hace es conservar y restaurar los bosques de tabaquillos, Polylepis australis es su nombre científico, en las sierras de la provincia de Córdoba.
Okay. Her name is Romina. She's biologist and professor. She lives in the center of Argentina, and she works as the manager of this project, Acción Sabana, which has the purpose to restore and conserve the forest of Polylepis australis.
Bueno, vamos a comenzar contando por qué plantamos Polylepis o por qué plantamos tabaquillos, que es el nombre común que se usa aquí en Córdoba. Estos bosques son los bosques que crecen a mayor altura en el continente americano y su distribución va desde Venezuela hasta la Argentina, formando los bosques de mayor altura en el planeta. Pero la distribución de estos bosques se vio reducida por la tala o la deforestación, los incendios y el sobrepastoreo.
Oh,
Estos bosques
wait,
son...
espera,
Ok.
Romy, si haces mucho me pierdo. Okay, now we start speaking about this forest, and this forest grows up in high altitude of the Andes and in the Sierra of Córdoba, which is endemic of this region. The name is Polylepis australis of the species that we are working with. Commonly here we call it tabaquillo, and these tree grows is the highest tree that grows in this region. Ah,
Bueno,
sorry, and amenazas, ¿cómo era? Eh,
Threats.
threats. Thank you, Tyler. The main threats that this forest has is the overgrazing of cows and animals that eat them, and forest fires, and erosion of the soil.
ok. Bueno, estos bosques son importantes porque protegen las nacientes de agua, ya que ayudan a retener el agua con sus raíces, mantienen el suelo y la buena calidad de sus suelos y además albergan o protegen, son hábitat de especies que están en peligro, o sea, hábitat de mucha biodiversidad. Y además son árboles nativos que están adaptados a las condiciones, a las condiciones del ambiente en el que plantamos.
Okay, these important trees to protect the headwater shows, and get they get better the quality of the soil because of the leaves that they fall down and the roots they retain the soil, and also they are habitat of many endemic species, and they are adapted to the natural conditions of this ecosystem.
En el año 2018 se crea Acción Andina, que es un proyecto sudamericano con el objetivo de conservar y restaurar estos bosques nativos y a su vez establecer vínculos con las comunidades andinas y sus montañas asociadas. En esta imagen vemos todos los proyectos que trabajamos en el marco de Acción Andina y todas las instituciones, además de los 5 países, 6 países que estamos trabajando en este momento: Colombia, Ecuador, Perú, Bolivia, Chile y Argentina.
Okay. In this image, we can see the map of Latin America, and every red dot, it's where projects from the Acción Andina ecosystem, which we, Acción Serrana, are part of them here in Argentina. Acción Andina is working reforesting polylepis ecosystems forest in 5 countries of Latin America, in Ecuador, Bolivia, Peru, Chile, and Argentina.
Bueno,
And
¿quiénes somos? Ah, perdón.
no, and the last thing I was saying, all those logos here in the picture are the members of this huge international initiative.
Nosotros como Acción Serrana formamos parte de Acción Andina desde el año 2018 y es una agrupación de distintas instituciones y personas que estamos interesadas por la conservación de estos bosques.
Well, who we are, Acción Serrana is a project that has been part of Acción Andina since 2018. It is made up of different groups, 5, and institutions and people interested in the conservation of this forest here in Córdoba.
Aquí hay una imagen de quienes formamos parte: comunidad local, gente voluntaria, staff que participa de manera estable en el proyecto.
Here you can see some images about who we are or the people that integrates this project. Local people from the Gaucho community, volunteers, different staff that works in the nurseries around the state. Creo que eso nada más.
Nada más. Bueno, ¿dónde trabajamos? Nosotros trabajamos en Argentina, en el contexto de Sudamérica. La provincia en la que trabajamos se llama Córdoba, que está en el centro de Argentina. Particularmente hay una reserva que se llama Reserva Hídrica Provincial Pampa de Achala y el Parque Nacional Quebrada del Condorito. Esa es nuestra área de trabajo, son casi 160.000 hectáreas de trabajo, de extensión.
Where we work, the area of influence of our restoration activities is the Pampachala Provisional Water Reserve and the Quebrada Condorito National Park. This conservation unit is located in the Sierras Grandes of Córdoba and covers one, 155,000 hectares. Is that right? Thousand?
Entonces, sí.
Hectares of provincial reserve and 37,000 hectares of national park and reserve in Quebrada del Condorito. And those dots that you can see below are the areas of work um, um, of those 5 groups that we probably mentioned. They they work in all of these areas distributed in the long territory of the Pampachala Provincial Water State.
Bueno, ¿qué hacemos? ¿Cuáles son nuestras tareas? Comenzamos con el cercado de la zona donde plantamos para excluir el ganado. Luego hacemos la recolección de las semillas de estos árboles en los bosques de altura. Construimos y mantenemos los viveros donde se siembran y se hacen los trasplantes de estos árboles, que es lo que nosotros llamamos repique. Luego de 9 meses, estos árboles se llevan a campo y se plantan en las áreas que tenemos establecidas de plantación y además se hace un trabajo de seguimiento o de monitoreo de estas plantaciones. Esos monitoreos se hacen seguimientos durante 5 años para poder evaluar el estado de esas plantas.
Here we see what we do. Among the numerous activities we carry out, we can mention maintenance of wire fences, repair and reinforcement, fencing of new areas, seed collection, construction and maintenance of nurseries, germination of seedlings, reporting of seedlings to forest tubes, transfer of seedlings to the planting areas or to high altitude nurseries under planting in the intervention areas during the rainy season. We establish permanent plots for monitoring and we support research carried out in the intervention area. And Romin said about monitoring, we do monitoring activities during 5 years.
Bueno, ¿quiénes realizamos esta tarea? Se realiza con personal permanente, staff, personas voluntarias que participan durante todas las etapas del proceso. A su vez se generan acuerdos con dueños de tierras para poder hacer las plantaciones y todas las tareas. Y también establecemos redes con distintas instituciones, tanto estatales como privadas, para poder mantener y sostener el proyecto a lo largo del año y del tiempo.
Well, this is who we are. We carry out many of the work support by permanent staff, volunteers, and several other tasks for the sustainability of the actions, such as the generation of agreements with landowners, people, networks, and institutions, participation in regional, provincial, national, and international programs.
También hay que destacar una de las actividades que tenemos asociadas al proyecto de restauración, que es la educación ambiental y la formación profesional. Durante el año y en paralelo a las actividades de restauración se realizan actividades educativas en escuelas, tanto rurales como urbanas, y se colabora en un programa de formación profesional que se llama restauración ecológica y educación ambiental y está pensado para estudiantes de nivel secundario o nivel medio.
Well, this is about our environmental education and vocational training activities that play an important role in our project. Um, the objective of this model is to generate ecological, economic, social, and cultural sustainability from the social inclusion of young people to work in ecological restoration and environmental education, taking into account that the social inclusion of these key sectors of the future is not only an ethical requirement, but necessarily in terms of the growing demand for local and qualified green jobs for the sustainable scaling up of ecological restoration in line with this decade of United Nations of ecosystem restoration. And also, we are working with um, ecological restoration, ecological and education ambiental program em, dirigido
Sí.
help that we are doing in secondary and primary schools. Thank you.
Bueno, ¿qué hemos logrado hasta aquí desde el año 2018 trabajando en conjunto con Acción Andina? Hemos trabajado en 14 áreas de intervención. Tenemos en la actualidad 29 viveros de producción de árboles en la provincia de Córdoba. Hemos plantado hasta el momento 635.000 árboles. Se han cubierto más de 180 hectáreas. Trabajan en la actualidad de manera permanente 65 personas. Transitan por nuestro proyecto o participan en nuestro proyecto más de 1.500 voluntarios por año. Establecemos redes con distintas instituciones, más de 25 organizaciones, tanto ONGs, escuelas, Servicio Penitenciario de la provincia de Córdoba, grupos de scouts, empresas privadas. Y en la actualidad tenemos 250.000 árboles que se están produciendo y se están comenzando a plantar en esta campaña o en esta temporada que comenzó en el mes de noviembre y culmina en el mes de marzo del 2025.
Right, right. Oh, okay. Um,
¿Seguimos?
no. Well, it's well said in the text. Um, do you prefer that I read it? I just see your message, Tyler. I don't
See,
know if you prefer
it's
to.
it's up to you. I think we can read this slide very well. And so
Okay,
if it feels better to spend time on the next, that could be good.
well, perfect. Okay, that Romy said basically what states in here. This is about the main uh, logros. Okay, next one. Sí, siguiente.
Ok, seguimos. Bueno, actualmente nosotros contamos con fuentes de ingreso para sostener nuestras actividades. La principal fuente de ingresos viene a través de Global Forest Generation, que es Acción Andina, digamos, nuestro proyecto desde el 2018. Y los fondos que brinda Acción Andina o Global Forest son casi el 70% de nuestros campañas, digamos, de nuestro trabajo. A su vez, recibimos fondos de cooperación, como por ejemplo de EOCA, de Patagonia Small Grants, del Ministerio de Ambiente de la provincia de Córdoba. Tenemos pequeñas donaciones, canales de pequeñas donaciones de individuos particulares y estamos iniciando vínculos con algunas empresas nacionales. Estamos desarrollando en la actualidad diferentes estrategias alternativas a estos apoyos o ingresos económicos actuales que tienen que ver con el desarrollo del ecoturismo vinculado a los puestos, a los bosques de altura, a los bosques de polilepis, y luego también la venta de productos regionales, como por ejemplo alimentos del monte nativo, artesanías de los pueblos originarios, packs de hierbas medicinales o aromáticas y a su vez el desarrollo de una plataforma educativa online que se llama Academia Biosférica. Todas estas estrategias son estrategias que están en desarrollo.
Okay, Rami said what it's in the text, so I'm going to go next. La última, Rami.
Sí, lo último, ¿cómo podríamos articular, pensando en las cuatro propuestas, consideramos que las siguientes están más alineadas a nuestro proyecto? La primera, que es BioRegional Trust, que nos proporciona recursos iniciales, nos podría proporcionar recursos iniciales para fortalecer la expansión de nuestro proyecto y de nuestras acciones de conservación y restauración que ya estamos llevando a cabo. Y a su vez, y la segunda, que nos ayudaría a potenciar la sostenibilidad y la escalabilidad del proyecto, alineándose con economías regenerativas de largo plazo. Aquí nos gustaría tener apoyo técnico y financiero para poder expandir este modelo que tenemos pensado. Eh, por otro lado, también creemos que como aspecto más importante de BioFi es el trabajo colaborativo, poder participar en estas instancias de diálogo y de presentación para enriquecer nuestra perspectiva y potenciar nuestra red de apoyo internacional.
Bien.
Gracias.
Thanks.
Wow. Gracias, Romina. Gracias, Renata. Wow.
Pleasure.
Um, yeah, I want to open it up to the group just for 5 minutes before we then hear from Unarbel. Are there any specific questions for Romina, Renata, knowing that we'll have time at the end to hold a broader conversation?
Mhm.
I think I have one. Um, Alejandro tiene una pregunta en el chat.
Pregunta para Romy, ¿qué supervivencia tienen los tabaquillos y cómo lo miden?
La supervivencia promedio es del 70-75% de nuestros árboles. Los medimos, instalamos parcelas de monitoreo en el momento de plantación, que son nuestras unidades de muestreo, y luego se vuelve a esas parcelas durante 5 años seguidos para medir el crecimiento y la altura de esos árboles.
Translated for English speakers. Ale asked, ah, what Tyler put in the message, and Romy said the 70% of the tabaquillos, they survive to the plantations, and they, ¿cómo sería medir? They
Measure, ¿no?
measure, gracias. They measured with parcels of monitoring that they analyze over 5 years in a time, más o menos.
Renata and Romina, I have a question. I'll ask it in English first and then Spanish. We're here in the bioregional finance community of practice, and we use this word all the time, bioregional. And obviously, you all are working at a bioregional level, and I'm curious what the culture, what the language is around this term bioregional. If that's a term that even makes sense in this context, or if there's a different set of words, a different set of ideas that guide this sort of regional approach. ¿Me entendiste, Renata?
Sí, sí. Él pregunta sobre la palabra eh, bioregión, si es un término que nosotros usamos o cuál sería el término que corresponde a nuestro lugar. Yo pienso que acá usamos el término territorio. Territorio es una palabra que viene desde las bases, desde las comunidades campesinas, de las comunidades de los pueblos originarios y reivindica cómo las comunidades humanas se relacionan con los espacios físicos naturales, por ende, su relación con la naturaleza. es un término político, un término que habla sobre un espacio geográfico, como también las características humanas que lo habitan. No hay territorio sin humanos, no hay suelo, no hay tierra sin comunidades, ¿no? Como que es una unión en territorio. No sé,
Ujú.
Romy, si, ¿qué pensás vos o qué otra palabra usarías?
O
¿Te
sea,
gustaría traducir antes, Renata?
Ah, wait.
¿Posible?
I said territory. I don't know if the meaning of that word in English is the same that we use it in Latin America. Territory, it's a word that it comes from the base movement of campesinos and indigenous people. It links how the people live in the geographical and natural space. There are no natural spaces without people because we know we are everywhere. And a territory speaks about that communion, and it's a political way of defending the natural spaces from the community.
yo, yo sí uso la palabra bioregión
Bien.
porque entiendo que está incluido además del bioma, sí, ese componente cultural y económico de esa región. Entonces suelo usarla como concepto, digamos.
And Romy said that she does use the word bioregion because it shows up how the natural and social aspects of the life get together in one word.
Super.
Más o menos.
Gracias. Well, thank you so much. I want to share as well that I don't think we've quite posted this publicly yet, but we have invited, the BioFi project has invited Acción Serrana to be part of this cultivator program that we'll be running in the new year. And so we're really hoping that through that we'll be able to offer whatever technical and relational assistance we can to their really beautiful work that we've had the real honor of getting to know in deeper conversations. So take a look there at what we have in store in the new year for groups like Acción Serrana and others who will be participating from South America, Central America, as well as North America. Um, so now we'll switch it over to un árbol. No sé si tú vas a presentar Renata o Rodrigo, pero
Well, thank you for the other thing. Thank you very much for the invitation. We're honored. And Rodrigo is going to start with the presentation. Rodri, ¿vos tenés acceso al PowerPoint para mostrarlo? Joya, porque
Yeah.
tengo que usar unas notas. Gracias.
Mm, Are you watching the PowerPoint presentation or not yet?
Yes.
yep,
Um,
but it's not yet in presentation mode. Yep,
Presentation.
perfecto.
Well, nice to meet you. My name is Rodrigo Túnica. I'm part of un árbol. Un árbol in English means one tree or a tree. We are a non-profit organization and we are focused on social and environmental regeneration, developing triple impact projects focused on ecological restoration and food sovereignty, with the aim of creating and fostering environments and human systems capable to evolving with nature and addressing the complex challenge of today's world. And so to try to tell you more about how we work, there are like two words about, I will talk in the first part of the presentation, and then Rennie will follow with the projects we are developing. And these two words are culture and education. They are like across all our programs and all our projects, and we think it's part of our identity. Our history started in 2012, 12 years ago. And we start as a urban group of friends living together in a house, and suddenly one of us went to a workshop and learned how to sow a seed, how to grow a tree. And for urban young people, it was the first time that we could be part of that. We never done that before. We came all from different backgrounds, and we were really so excited to watch a tree grow that we start learning about trees, about the trees that were in our houses, in our blocks, in our neighborhoods. That till that day they were part of our lives, but we didn't even know their names. And we were so excited that we start to do workshops to share this knowledge with our neighbors, our friends, schools, and many different groups of people that wanted to know something about trees. And that year was very dynamic. We gave like 60 workshops. People came, we sow seeds, we plant trees together, and everyone who came to these workshops could take the growing trees to their houses. We even start something that we call that a collective sewing. We went like to rock festivals or music shows, and we sow seeds together with people there. And suddenly there were like lots of trees growing across the city. It was like a decentralized tree nursery. And what happened was that these people that were growing their trees start sending messages to us from Facebook in that time, telling us, okay, I have like a 1.5 meter tree. What do? I can't have it anymore in my flat, in my house. So we, in a very organic way, we decided to join and to meet all that people together and to do what we call Together We Are a Forest. Juntos somos un bosque in Spanish. We are un árbol, one tree, and together we are a forest. We meet all together and we plant in a public space all those trees. And it was really exciting because first of all, we didn't know most of the people, or we just saw them once. And we didn't have the idea of how many trees were growing in their houses. And we met together that day, and we were more than 1,000 people, and we planned. People came in their cars with trees, in their bikes with trees, in the train with trees, and it was really interesting this first time because we planted lots of trees, more than 500. That for us it was really, really a lot. It was our first time, and we saw our community for the first time. We start getting in touch with lots of people. More than 100 organizations joined us to organize this festival. And it was interesting because it was without budget. No money was involved in this action. But we realized that we have like a model that could be repeated, and that we have like a potential to grow with our community. And to this festival came an authority of the city, and it was excited too about movement and invite us to make something together with the city, the government. And we proposed them to make a tree nursery of native trees in Buenos Aires. And that was our first time with budget and with the possibility to make a bigger scale project. We found the first native trees nursery from Buenos Aires. And it was really nice because our scale was like 3,000 trees a year, and suddenly we were growing more than 30,000 trees a year. It was a really good process. And maybe the main part of this process was to start working with local communities. Our project was based on making the tree nurseries in low-income neighborhoods. And we found that in these neighborhoods, there were many people that came to the city, but used to live in the countryside or in other countries. For example, this is the case of Waldina, that is a big friend of the organization. She's from Bolivia, and she was living in the city, but she had a lot of knowledge of how to grow trees. So we thought that we were going to teach a group of people how to do this, and in real, what happened was that we were learning together. And this first project with this local community was the beginning of what we call the triple impact nurseries that we developed in different parts of Buenos Aires since 2017. And each case has like a particularity. We developed over 13 tree nurseries, hospitals, schools, jails. And here I brought like 3 projects. The first one is the one I was talking about with the local government. Second one, the middle one, it's called Avispa, and it was with a social movement. And the third one is Vivera Orgánica, that is in a low-income neighborhood in the city of Buenos Aires, in the more expensive place of the city. And what happened here nowadays is that we are not more part of the everyday. We are not in the everyday of the project. We can move aside and let these communities to develop their projects by their own, and we just make like support in specific tasks or areas they need. So what happened here is that the triple impact is working, and they have an economic income, and they can live of growing these native trees. And that's what, for us, is the success of the project. We can leave the project, and the project works by itself. So now I will let Renny go on with our actual projects. But to synthesize this part, it's like building communities, focusing in the exchange of knowledge, and trying to make projects that can be sustainable and that we can repeat in different communities and in different areas is what we have learned in this time. And that's what we start doing since 2020, that we start going to different parts, different provinces and different parts of the country. We meet local groups, and we start to try to recreate and adapt what we have learned to develop new projects that Renny will tell you now about.
Okay. Thank you, Rodo. That's great. And that's how we learned that we had a replicable model that we could take to other parts of the country. And we are going to see now, we had different types of projects. These 3 main projects, we call them Alma, because they are like the spirit of the organization. I'm going to want to talk about the first one. It's restoration of high altitude forests, which we are developing now. Anda una mar atrás. Eso. We are developing this with the help of Acción Serrana. We learn with them from their years of experience, and we seek to complement and expand their initiative. Then the project Agroforestry Systems and Enterprise with Wichi communities. And the other one, it's the AMBA Regeneration Project, which is in Buenos Aires, fruit of those movements that Rodri said before. Ahora sí, siguiente. I'm not going to get into the AMBA Regeneration Project, which is because it's in an urban context, and we would like to talk about more the other two projects. So that one is going to be there in the presentation. If anyone would like to know more about this project, I can pass the presentation. I can pass by the chat, or you can email me any information about that. And we go next. Well, this interesting about AMBA, the AMBA restoration project is that we are planting in strategical points of the city of Buenos Aires, where the rivers, the watersheds runs, the Riachuelo, Reconquista, and Luján. And this is an interesting way of seeing the territory of the bioregion of us. Next one. This restoration project in the altitude forest of Córdoba with Acción Serrana, we help them planting the trees. We learn how to cultivate tabaquillos because we didn't have experience, and Acción Serrana are, well, the big mommy and daddy of this huge international projects. And we are seeing how the model that we developed mainly in Buenos Aires is applicable of this context. So we've been working in Córdoba for 4 years, with the last 2 years in Tabaquillos forest, and we developed one social culture event, Juntas Somos un Bosque, or Together We Are Forest, with the help with Acción Serrana, and we we get better. No me sale la palabra. One nursery, familiar nursery in this town next to the forest in Cura Brochero, and we're seeing how we're planning to see next year. We're learning about Acción Serrana, how to help them, but it's new, this project. Okay, next one. Well, these are some pictures. The girl in the left is that was one artist intervention during the Juntas Somos un Bosque event, and the baby girl is the daughter of Rodrigo Monte, holding one tabaquillo tree. Okay, this picture was in the journey working in the nursery, where all the volunteers from the local community got together while a girl was playing some music for the trees. So every time we do an intervention, we mix art and activism. That's one characteristic of a way of work. Next one. Okay, now I'm going to talk about this project, which is called Food Sovereignty and Restoration Project, which is communities in Salta. This is another bioregion. It's in the Gran Chaco, and we are working with a foundation that has more than 10 years of experience working with the Wichi. What we are doing there is promote food sovereignty and the conservation of native forests of the Wichis communities in the Ruta Nacional 86 Salta through productive restoration and supporting the commerce of Wichi handcrafts in fair trade networks. Next one. Okay, why we are speaking about food sovereignty? Okay. It refers to the right of people to define and control their food systems in a way that prioritizes the common good and not the maximization of income. This concept originated in 1996 as a response of campesino organizations to pressure from the World Trade Organizations. And in this project, we are learning and teaching how to collect food from the natural trees in the natural environmental. The thing is, the Wichis communities are no longer using those aliment, those foods, because there's a rupture in the tradition of alimentation, and we are recovering that knowledge and hug them, and we pulling it up in the value market and in the value of the society in general, and speaking to their community that it's important to don't forget to do that, to eat that, because it's an important way of taking care of the ecosystem. It's important. Well, it's a good way of nutrition. It's really good food. Next one. Okay. I understand the main objective of this meeting was to talk about the regeneration of the Andes, but however, we believe it's important to make visible this neighboring ecosystem, being the second largest forest in Latin America, the Gran Chaco, home of over 20 native indigenous people, among them the Wichi, Toba, Com, Macoit, Pilaga, Guarani, Tanapa, and etc. Many, many, many indigenous people live there, and this big, huge forest, it seems, it is, I don't know how to say, parece, como, lo voy a decir en español, Tyler, you can help me. Este ecosistema es visto como un recurso gigante para extraer madera.
This forest has been seen as a massive
Yeah.
resource to extract from.
Okay. Thank you. I can go now. And for us, it's important to take care of it and to teach to the community that it's not only wood in there. There are many communities living in there, and there are plenty way of food, medicines, herbs, very vital for the life in there. Next one. And this is about the process that we're living in the organization now. We work now in an interethnic context, and that means we are working with a community of hunter and gatherers that still retains elements of nomadism. The separation between nature and culture does not exist for them. Elements such as water, forest, honey, and corzuela or animals have owners, but they are not owners on the way of property, but they take care of those elements. They are not human subjects to whom permission must be asked. And they have a unique language. Many of them, they don't speak Spanish. So it's a challenge to work with them, but we are really, really happy to do this process because we think that our models of work can be implemented in this context, and as well, they are going to modify and implement the tools that we are offering to ecosystem regeneration projects. So this project represents a constant challenge for us, as we always seek to integrate the knowledge in the best way possible for temporalities and objectives of the project within the Western logical frameworks of the organization which we work, because the world is colonized. Next one. Well, these pictures are the people who were working. They're mainly women, and these are some of the handcraft they do with chawar, which is a natural fiber that they recollect, asking permission of these non-human subjects. The experience of going with them in the nature and doing all this stuff is not only a product comparable of Chinese production. This is another way of doing stuff, useful stuff as well, and beautiful pieces of art. Next one. Well, we are learning and teaching with them how to produce bees products, honey, wax, and propolis as well. Next one. And this is the first year of the agroforestry that we implement in the Pacara local Pacara town. And the next one, you can see how is it now. Próxima. That's how it looks now, and they're collecting lots of kilograms of food. I didn't bring the exact amount of food how they are collecting. Ya se me está trabando la lengua. But it's doing a difference really for them. Next one. Well, this is about we finished the project presentation, and this is about our structured economic sustainability model. We have 8 generation units that provides us funds to sustain all these projects that we have mentioned. First of all, we have partners and subscribers that they give us small amounts of money every year. This year was 107. After we have community tree donations, and we mainly capture that by social media networks. Just they donate 1 tree. We have memberships. They donate every month a certain amount of money. Sponsored projectors, that's for empresas, corporations that sponsor one project or 2 projects in particular, and we negotiate with them some images, videos, like content for them, so they can share the projects that they're sponsoring. Cooperation funds, we have earned a fund from the Embassy of Canada, Patagonia as well, and that's it for now too. And corporate volunteer, this is really good because the corporations they love planting trees in every part of green that they can go. So we teach them how to do that, where it's important to do that, and in that we can make enough money to support some parts of the project. Fair trade, we sell now kits. That's a kit with soil and a seed, so that people can start growing their own tree. And then in the next Juntos Somos un Bosque, they have in their locality, and they are happening a lot of these social events all over the country. They can go and plant their tree, the native tree, of course. And then we sell plants from the nurseries that we said before. And we start selling now handcrafts made from the witches communities. And the landscaping, it's only for corporations in the corporation. That's not something that popular, but still works. And the last one is financial. I think that's something with the bank. And the last one. Okay, these are our metrics for the past 12 years. We opened 13 triple impact nurseries. We plant over more than 183,183,000. Yeah, 20,000 trees. 183 cultivated, and 20,000 we have planted trees and shrubs and herbs. More than 700 workshops, and more than 22,000 volunteers in our activity. And the last one. Okay, we thought, how could the BioFi community help us growing? So we thought these main thoughts points, but we can discuss it. Access to localized finances, because the biofinancing facilities are designed to decentralize the governance of financial resource, allowing local organizations like, our NGO to access funds that aligns with specific needs and characteristics for our bioregion. But we work in different bioregions because Argentina is a big country and we are a national organization. Support in stranger or fair trade networks with which we craft. That's so important because these products in our country, they are not popular. And we need to think or start thinking with starters and people creative. How can we make popular buying these beautiful objects? That would be really good. And participate in the BioFi community of products. I love this space. Thank you, Tyler and Samantha, and all the equipment for doing this, because it's really important to be in contact with another projects and learn how they do process and converse and discuss how to get better. And advising on resource mobilization, for example, promoting our crowdfunding campaigns, which we we created in English for our global allies. We have friends outside of Argentina, but not that many. So this would be a really good way of start working together to just share our work. That would be really good. Well, that's it for now. No hay otra, ¿no? No hay un gracias. Ah, bueno, these are all the ecosystem of organizations that we work. Some of them are, not all of them they're here, but we work with many people and organizations, governments. Some of them are here. Now, yes, thank you very much for the space.
Wow. Thank you, Renata. Thank you, Rodrigo. I'm really touched by that presentation and the depth that you all are working at. And yeah, it's obvious you're not thinking in any silos. You're really feeling the whole challenge here and addressing so many parts of it. Wow.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. We have 10 minutes here as a group to chat about whatever we want, whether that's questions for Renata and Rodrigo on un árbol, questions for Romina on Acción Serrana, or just broader questions and ideas. So I'm curious, Rose, David, Paige, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much. That was so inspiring. One thing that came up, and you might have said this and I might have missed it, but the land that you're regenerating, is it public land? And are there any protections in law that keep the work so that it doesn't kind of go back to the way it was?
Rami,
¿Quieres una traducción? Sí. La pregunta es, en las áreas donde ustedes trabajan para reforestar y plantear árboles, ¿son tierras públicas o privadas? Y si son tierras públicas, ¿qué son los riesgos de, am, de una venta de esa tierra o la destrucción de sus esfuerzos?
Gracias por la pregunta. Son ambas tierras públicas y tierras privadas. Trabajamos tanto en Parque Nacional, que es tierra estatal o tierra pública, y con tierras privadas. Y con los privados hacemos convenios por el uso de la tierra, y esos convenios duran entre mínimo 10 hasta 50 años. Entonces se garantiza que pueda generarse un bosque en esas áreas.
So it's both. They work with public lands, including one large park, national park. But then when it is private land, they create these convenings that establish 10 to 50-year agreements to guarantee the protection of that forest.
In our case, we work with both as well. And in Buenos Aires, we work in a lot of public parks and natural reserves from the government of Buenos Aires on municipalities, and as well in private lands from different owners. Some some of the reforestation areas are monitoring, and we are learning. Sometimes the trees die because they cut them, and then we learn how to avoid that in different situations. Now we have a really good tasa de supervivencia, supervivence promedy,
Survival,
something like that.
survival rate.
Survival, yes, really good. But it depends because we are planting in so many different regions. Every context is different of the other.
And let me add what we were talking yesterday, Reni, that we are also working in indigenous land that has a different logic in every way. For example, yesterday we were watching the Google Maps images, and we saw like in, for example, in other places where we work, there are all straight lines that define the properties. And if you start thinking of indigenous land, there are no straight lines. There are like circles and paths. So it's, as Reni was telling, a complete different way of thinking the space. It's not just public or private, it's something completely different that we have to learn how to talk and how to think together.
Thanks for that. I'm curious, obviously more money could support this work growing and expanding. And at, at the core of it, that's a big part of why we're all here with this BioFi is just how do we open up the flows of funding to amazing projects like these? Um, and I'm curious, yeah, I'm curious how you all think about you kind of mentioned this, Renata, with the fair trade products, how you all think about the relationship between trying to access funding and demand for products locally versus seeking that from the global north. And if there's a strategy you all have pursued thus far in relationship to that, because it seems like Unarbo's work is really supported locally by citizens, by local corporations, where maybe the work of Acción Serrana is a bit more global. And I'm just curious to hear how you all think about those trade-offs and those strategies.
Well, I guess sometimes when you have something really cool so near you, you don't see it. And I'm thinking that the diversity of cultures that we have in Argentina, none of governments or corporations or many people in general living in the cities, they don't even know they exist. So it's like ant work, we said, to start teaching them that they exist and they produce these beautiful works. But I'm seeing that outside of Argentina, some countries from the north, they start caring about indigenous wisdom and indigenous existence. So I think it's good to start bringing them like building a bridge between people from the North Global are interested in support and their existence to these communities in the local South, because people here are not ready to set up a net of contention for the existing people, the community. Some institutions, of course, we have some institutions, but it's not enough. It's not enough. So that's why I think by BioFi, it's a good way of start building those bridges. And also, it's not only handcrafts. There's a lot of wisdom behind that. And I think the nicest part of building the net is to teaching them, people outside of this bioregion, that another way of humanity is possible.
And let me add like one thing or two things. For example, in our 12 years working, we have developed lots of red of we have worked with lots of people and lots of organization, and we think that our community and the people that shared with us the work and that support us is growing permanently and it's strong. We are lots of people that we see each other, and we've been working in different projects and we try to support each other. There's like a strong part that is like the social community that doesn't involve budget or money. And by the other side, we have like a permanent economic crisis in Argentina that we are used to that. But at the same time, it's like in some moments that we are fund with local funds, it's like we spend more time thinking how to survive than developing our projects. And that is really, it's very tiring, correct? It's lots of energy and time dedicated to find money to work instead of working. And sometimes it's okay, but let's plant trees and stop talking about administration and economics. But well, we are used to that because since I'm working, it's always the same, but with are trying to be a little bit more stable so we can get more and better impact.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Romina, mi pregunta fue, ¿cómo ves las ventajas y desventajas a solicitar fondos de comunidades locales y economías locales, o fondos internacionales y del norte global? ¿Y cómo ustedes piensan sobre esta estrategia?
Bueno, la desventaja de los fondos locales tiene un poco que ver con lo que hablaba Rodrigo antes, la crisis, sobre todo en Argentina, en Sudamérica. Entonces es complejo adaptarse a esa realidad. Eh, Hay algo que tenemos en Argentina que se llama inflación, que es los fondos que van llegando se hacen cada vez más escasos a medida que pasan los meses. Entonces es difícil hacer una programación anual o bianual. Por eso quizás con fondos de otras regiones del mundo se puede resolver. De todas maneras, la crisis que estamos transitando en Argentina es fuerte. Entonces, los fondos que ingresan en este mes, de aquí a 5 o 6 meses, ya no son los mismos en términos de inflación. Es compleja la proyección, digamos. Esa es la realidad con la que contamos.
Gracias. Romina was saying that, with the economic and inflation crisis in Argentina, that's a huge disadvantage of trying to secure funds locally, but also just to plan as an organization, similar to what Rodrigo was saying. when the money you have 1 month is no longer worth anything 5 months down the road, it's really hard to set goals and strategize as an organization. So that's one of the complexities that they're dealing with. Bueno, muchísimas gracias a Romina, a Rodrigo, a Renata. Voy a poner dos vínculos en el chat sobre nuestra comunidad de práctica. I'm putting two links in the chat about our community of practice. Tenemos un grupo en línea en una plataforma se llama Hilo, donde hay 439 personas ahora. Estamos creciendo cada día. Y es un buen lugar para poner solicitudes y ofertas, ideas, recursos. Y también tenemos nuestro calendario aquí. Um, so for those who don't already know and aren't already signed up, there's a link to our community of practice where you can meet, 439 other folks from around the world doing this work and share requests, offers, resources. And then there's our calendar for the events that will be coming up. We're working on our new calendar for 2025. And so we'll be sharing about those other events we have coming up. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions about the community of practice, I'll leave my email. And yeah, if there's anything you want to check out with Renata or Rodrigo, si tienes algo para saludarnos, Romina, ahora es el momento.
Gracias por la paciencia, por las traducciones y bueno, nos entrenaremos para que vaya mejorando esto. Gracias.
Bueno, muchas gracias, Tyler. Thank you everyone for hearing and sharing this space. We appreciate it a lot. And have a nice end of the year.
Yeah.